Why the Knicks need to hire Kenny Atkinson as the next head coach and not hire Tom Thibodeau. What's up, everyone? This is More Hoops. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Now let's get right to this. New Knicks president of basketball operations, Leon Rose, has his work cut out for him. One of the biggest decisions that he has to make going forward is who to select as the Knicks' new head coach. Now, the Knicks started off this season with David Fizdale as the head coach. It only took about 2 weeks into the season before the Knicks realized that Fizdale wasn't the man for the job. The fact that David Fizdale had Julius Randle playing point forward just goes to show how completely clueless he was. David Fizdale got fired after a horrific 4-18 start on December 6, 2019, and Mike Miller became the head coach ever since. Recently, rumors have been coming out that the Knicks are going to hire Coach Thibodeau. According to Bleacher Report, several coaches believe Tom Thibodeau will be the Knicks' next head coach. As a Knicks fan, I really hope that these rumors that the Knicks are dead set on hiring Tibbs is false. While Thibodeau's track record is impressive, he's a really horrible fit with our young roster. Now, I understand why some fans would be excited about hiring Tibbs. Tibbs has accomplished a lot as an NBA head coach. Thibodeau coached Chicago for 5 seasons from 2010 to 2015, helping it reach the playoffs every single season during that span. The Bulls' best season under him was their first year when they were 62-20 and reached the Eastern Conference Finals. That year, Tibbs won the NBA's Coach of the Year award. Tibbs also coached Minnesota from 2016 to 2019, where he helped the Timberwolves make the playoffs for the first time since the Kevin Garnett era. So, despite all of these accomplishments, why do I say that hiring Tibbs is a horrible decision? The problem with Coach Tibbs is that he's an old-school, hard-nosed coach that refuses to adapt to the modern NBA. The Knicks, being a rebuilding team, need someone that knows how to connect with young players and develop young talent. Tibbs' inability to connect with young players is well documented. In Minnesota, Tibbs had a hard time connecting with the young players. As Andrew Wiggins said about Tibbs in 2019, yelling and screaming isn't necessarily coaching. Clearly, Coach Tibbs' tendency to yell at players on the sideline wasn't taken too kindly. Now, another huge issue with Tibbs is his tendency to run his starters into the ground. If you look at most of the Bulls starters back when Tibbs won Coach of the Year, Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, they all broke down earlier than they should have because Tibbs wore them down over the years by playing them too many minutes. The Knicks don't need a head coach that's going to cause our young players to have shortened careers because he overworks them. Tibbs has even been known to run practices on the same day of the game. Here's what former NBA player Rip Hamilton had to say about Thibodeau in his former time playing there. I never experienced anything like that until I actually got to Chicago. It's well documented that practices are a little too long and they're a little too hard and things like that. And the Knicks being interested in Coach Tibbs represents what's wrong with New York Knicks basketball. Instead of just making the best basketball decisions, the Knicks always just go for the big names. A perfect example of this is in 2015 when the Knicks hired Phil Jackson to be president of basketball operations. Now, the smart thing for the Knicks to do would have been to hire a president with a strong history of team building. Instead, they just went after a big name. Now, I'm not going to break down the whole Phil Jackson era because that's a whole video in itself. But let me just say that Phil Jackson had absolutely no business running a basketball team. Now, he was a great coach, but he was a horrible decision maker at the executive level. It's foolish decisions like these why the Knicks are always the butt of every joke.
In about an hour, I'm gonna piss away 20 grand. What, are you gonna bet on the Knicks? I'm sorry.
Look, while Coach Tibbs has a great track record on paper, his refusal to change his coaching style makes him incompatible with the young players that the Knicks need to develop. Now, personally, I think Tibbs would be a better fit on a roster with veterans that are in win-now mode, not with a developing young team. Tibbs is a big-name coach, but the Knicks don't necessarily need a big name. They just need someone that fits the roster they're trying to develop. Now, believe it or not, I actually wouldn't be opposed to letting Mike Miller return as the head coach because the team really improved under Miller. There was a huge difference with Miller coaching. The ball movement on offense was a lot better. The team defense was better. The Knicks were 4-18 under Fizz and 17-27 under Miller. Now, while 17-27 definitely isn't good, it's an improvement from the awful start to the year that Fizz had. Miller also won Coach of the Year for the G League Westchester Knicks in 2018. Even if Miller is not rehired as head coach, I would definitely love to have him back on the coaching staff. Now, the guy who I really want the Knicks to be the next head coach is Kenny Atkinson. The main reason is because, as stated before, the Knicks are a rebuilding team and they need a coach that knows how to develop young talent. Kenny has a proven track record in developing young players and helping to build a team from the ground up. The Nets were left in shambles after the Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce trade, which will likely go down as the worst trade in NBA history. Kenny really helped to rebuild the Nets after that awful trade. If you look at D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, all those young players got a lot better under him. Now, there are concerns about his late game play calling, but the Knicks need a head coach that's good for developing young players. The fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving threw Kenny under the bus and got him fired could actually be a blessing in disguise for the Knicks. If you look at the Knicks roster, the Knicks have a lot of young guys like Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith Jr., RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and Frank Ntilikina, who have untapped potential but need to have their games developed. If Kenny did an excellent job helping the Nets' young players develop, he should be able to do the same for the Knicks. If I was Leon Rose, I'm hiring Kenny Atkinson. Now, in the comment section below, tell me who you want the Knicks to hire as the next head coach. Thanks for watching.